collecting watches for more than a few years, chances are the original Seiko SKX 007 or the 009 was part of your early journey. This was certainly the case for me. It was a quintessential entry-level dive watch, ISO certified 200 meters of water resistance, and a design that somehow managed to feel timeless and toolish all at once, and best part is you can buy them brand new for sub $200. Shout out to my friends over at GQ Jewelers for letting me borrow these watches. These videos certainly wouldn't be possible without their support. Do me a favor and go show them some love. I'll leave their information below. When Seiko discontinued the SKX line and rebranded its successor under the Seiko 5 Sports banner in 2019, opinions were split. The styling was there, but the specs were softened. No screw-down crown and only 100 meters of water resistance. Still, for many, it was a great looking and affordable watch that kept the spirit of the SKX alive. Well, sort of. Now, Seiko's back at it again with a fresh take on that formula. 4 new models in the SKX Inspire 5 Sports line: the SRPL 83, SRPL 85, SRPL 87, and the SRPL 89. At first glance, they're bold, colorful, and clearly aimed at the same crowd who fell for the original SKX charm. But does the new lineup move the needle, or are we still chasing nostalgia? Let's start with what Seiko did right. The colors on the dials and the bezels are fantastic. This is easily the most playful batch of the SKX inspired Seiko 5s I've seen in years. The SRPL 83 brings a classic navy blue with a bright pop of blue in the seconds hand. The SRPL 85 is probably the most subdued with a black dial and white bezel markings, a true stealth classic. The SRPL 87 feels summery and light with its yellow dial, and the SRPL 89 pays homage to the sleeper SKX 011 even down to the gold accents. On paper, not much has changed from previous 5KX models. Still 100 meters of water resistance, still Hardix crystal, still no screw down crown, the same 4R36 caliber with the display case back. However, the dial opening is larger than before, which means that the width of the unidirectional rotating bezel has been reduced compared to the previous 5KX inspired models. Also, while most of the older versions featured a metal insert, these new watches now feature a glossy glass insert that changes color when the light hits it, and a 60-minute scale printed on the underside. However, I'm not really a big fan of the new squared off indices and the inverted triangle at 12 o'clock. Sure, they resemble the Samurai series, but they look out of place for me. These watches are loud in a good way. It's clear Seiko's having fun again, and that's something to appreciate in a sub $400 watch. Another thing I appreciate is that Seiko always delivers in the lume department. Plenty of Lumibrite can be found on the indices and hands, and it's cool to see that the older SKX 007 is just as bright. Here's a quick rundown of the specs. So the case diameter is 42.5 millimeters, the thickness is 13.9 millimeters, from lug to lug is 46 millimeters, in between the lugs 22 millimeters, crystal of course still Hardix, water resistance 100 meters, the movement as I mentioned is a Seiko caliber 4R36, you can hack it, you can wind it, and it has a date complication. These are offered with both a silicone strap and a new chunkier 3-link stainless steel bracelet. Despite the 42.5mm case size, the watch wears really well on my 6 7/8 inch wrists. That's thanks to the relatively short lug-to-lug measurement of 46mm and a nicely curved case profile. The case finishing is everything you'd expect from Seiko in this price range. Brushed surfaces, polished bevels, and a sturdy crown at 4 o'clock. That adds a touch of asymmetrical charm, but the real difference in feel comes from the new bracelet. The previous SKX had a Jubilee style bracelet that had vintage vibes, but felt lightweight and a bit rattly. This new version is a chunkier oyster style 3-link design. It's solid and it certainly feels more premium, but it's also a bit too bulky for my taste, especially considering the rest of the watch leans towards casual sporty rather than outright tool watch territory. It adds heft to the wrist that not everyone will love, especially if you're used to the lightweight feel of the original SKX on a rubber strap or NATO. Also worth noting, the clasp is a basic stamp fold-over style with micro adjustments, functional but not refined. The silicone strap the Seiko is using is extremely supple right out of the box and makes this watch wear a lot more comfortable and certainly give the watch a sportier look. There's a lot to like about these new models, but let's be honest, they still fall short of recapturing the full SKX magic. The biggest misses, well, number one, no sapphire crystal. At this point, even budget watches are starting to adopt sapphire, and Harlex just doesn't hold up in the long run. Number two, only 100 meters of water resistance. For a watch that looks like a diver, it should behave like one. Even 150 meters would have been a meaningful improvement. And number three, the lack of ISO certification. Seiko stopped short of making this a true dive watch. That's fine if you're buying it for style, but it limits the watch's real-world capability. And while these are certainly fun watches, they don't quite capture the utilitarian DNA of the SKX. That watch felt like a piece of gear. These feel more like lifestyle watches, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but for collectors who remember the SKX as their first real tool watch, the difference matters. These new Seiko SKX 5 Sports models are fun, affordable, and undeniably cool looking. The dial and bezel colors are fresh, the updated movements is a welcome change, and the case wears surprisingly well, even on smaller wrists. Look, if you're looking for a casual, everyday watch that nods to the past while embracing modern styling, this is a great pickup. But if you're hoping for a full-blown SKX successor, something that combines classic Seiko durability with modern specs, this isn't it. There's still no sapphire, still no screw-down crown, still 100 meters of water resistance. And the beefier bracelet, while better made, doesn't feel quite right on the wrist as compared to the old-style Jubilee. Personally, I still prefer the original SKX, and if I'm being honest, I'm a little upset that these new ones have SKX in the name. Look, the old SKX may not have been perfect, but it had a soul, it had a purpose. These new Seiko 5s, they're fun, stylish, and full of color, but they just don't carry the same legacy. Still, for under $400, these are compelling watches, and maybe that's all they need to be. I appreciate the support, be safe out there, and stay humble.